But once you get into creating the Shopify store, the main components are to have a clear image. So, what you're promoting that ties it with your story, to your brand story, because you really don't want to just, put out there, buy my product. Or you see sometimes the big brands do this. They'll have like, if they're having a sale, that's fine. They're promoting the sale, but they're just promoting the product without really tying it back to the brand story. And I think that's a miss mark, like not really talking about, how your brand came to be and why it's important to you, and then how it connects to your customer. And then the second part would be having like copy that speaks to your customer, because a lot of times you can use like generic copy, especially now with ChatGPT. So you, yeah. Yeah, so you want to make sure that you're actually speaking to your customer, like doing some research, seeing what speaks to them, what words they use on your Shopify store, and then having clear call to actions so that they're actually taking the action to look at your products, find your products, and eventually like add to cart and check out.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from you is that you need to make sure that you actually share your story. So it's not just like, hey, here, come buy my thing. It's like really about like what went behind it to make it happen. Really have clear call to actions. And then for your products, it's also a lot about like your branding and how you present your products, and really being able to like communicate like what this is going to do for your client in words that your client understands. So like, for example, like I'm a hairstylist, so I can't say like porosity. They're like, what is that? You just lost me, right? So I have to, instead of being my little hairstylist self, or even like as beauty professionals, we get so lost in that, like, I must sound professional. We forget, hey, our clients did not go to school. They're not doing continuing education to learn all this information. So how can we connect at a level and in a language that they understand? Which is
Right.
probably why my Shopify didn't work. So let me tell you a little bit of my story, why I'm so excited to have you here. I tried building a Shopify store 3 times, okay? 3 different years. It gave me a migraine. It took a month to do, and I did not know those 3 things. So to all my audience, you guys are already, like, all of you are already ahead of me, okay? So it was just so much work. I didn't understand what I was doing. And that's why I really wanted to have you today, because building a Shopify store is so different from building a website for your actual service-based business. And what are some of, like, after sharing my own challenges with my Shopify store, what are some common like challenges that you see with like beauty businesses when they're trying to start their Shopify store? And like how can they overcome like those, like most of the common like mistakes that you see with beauty like Shopify stores?
Yeah. Yeah, I like how you mentioned, like, obviously feeling overwhelmed and getting a headache just from trying to do the Shopify store your own self. And like a lot of that comes from like, trying to dig in and like just going at it without a plan. Which I don't know if you had a plan when you started to do the Shopify store, but
Mhm.
um, yes. So you kind of have to break it down into steps so that you don't get overwhelmed. So, like I was saying, the first thing is the brand identity, like making sure that it's, representing your brand well, not just based off what you like, but what your customer likes, what attracts them, what speaks to them. And then once that's done, then you're going to dig into like creating the copy is what I like to dive in after the brand identity, is diving into the copy, because you already have like the idea of who your customer is. So getting into the copy is going to be a lot easier once you have the brand identity.
So quick
Um,
question about that, and sorry to interrupt you, Dana, because I really want to bring this home for them. So when you mean brand identity, can you break that down like simpler to us? Like what do you mean by brand identity? Like do you mean the
yeah,
colors? Do
yeah.
you mean the essence of your business? Like what do you mean exactly when you say brand identity?
Yeah, and I think this is a great example of like I do this a lot, and so like brand identity is like, oh, I know what that is, but a lot of people don't know what that is. So I'm glad you brought that to the surface. So a brand identity is like more than just the logo. Like a lot of people are like, oh, well, I have a logo, like so I have already done that. That's all I need for the Shopify store. But really, you need more than that. You need to know, who your customer is, which should be the first thing that you tackle is who is your product for. So, what's your brand going to be about? And you can have different like target audiences because,
Mhm.
one product may be for like, somebody else that doesn't have the same issues that another product has the benefits for. But getting clear on like who is like your target audience is going to help you build a strong brand identity. And then once you have that, then you're going to start doing research of how can you speak to them through the colors, through like the logo itself, through typography, and then through your brand voice. So it's like all of these things make up the brand identity. And like you said, the essence of what people see online and how they perceive your brand is going to make up the brand identity. So I don't know if that answered your question.
It did. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure to really break it down because I know, like, I've been like tweaking and redesigning my website for the past like years, even the last 4 years when I had somebody redo it, it wasn't converting as much. So I had to like redo a lot of things. So I know what it is and I take a lot of education on it. But I think it's so important that I always like break it down to like simpler terms, especially when a lot of us, like for Shopify, like, although I had all this knowledge in tech, Shopify really got me.
Yeah, I say what part of Shopify was like really just draining for you or it was just difficult?
Well, for me, which I really love how like you have given them already like so much knowledge is in the part that like it's about your client, right? You need to like call to action, right? And just talking about call to action, so how can you do like call to actions on Shopify in a way that's not salesy? Because yes, I sell and I have my business and I book lots of services, but I am not a salesy person. Like I'm not pushy. And I think that's also like a big hurdle for like my audience and in our industry is like, how can I promote this product without feeling like I'm just talking about this and feel like I know it has a good service and purpose. Yes, it's beautiful and it's going to hydrate me all day, but how can I do it in a way that's authentic to me and that doesn't annoy my customer?
Yeah, and that kind of goes back into the brand identity itself. But when you're like promoting your products on your Shopify store or anywhere that's online, you have to tie it to the story. So like give them a story of like, I really believed in, that I really like to use this example for like skincare products,
Mhm.
because a lot of like in my younger years, I battled a lot with like my skin. And so when someone uses the story of like, I created this product because I was tired of like breaking out and my skin being all blotchy and red, that draws me in to buy that product because I'm like, oh, it worked for them. They care that much about skincare, so I want to buy it now. Versus if you see something in the store, you don't really know the story, how and why it was created. So a lot of people are going to buy it more because they can relate to you. So make your product relatable, in a way that's really going to speak about your brand story and speak about like the benefits of it, but like you say, without being salesy. So without saying 100% natural or like, things like that. Really going deep into like why the ingredients matter if you want to go that route,
Yeah.
versus just, putting a whole list of things that people don't know about. That's what I always like to say, like you should be doing to promote your product that way.
So I love that. It's pretty much like sharing like your own personal story of how this product came about and like why it's so helpful and how it can help and benefit them in their day to day. Because when I go to Sephora or I go to Ulta and I buy things, I don't know like who the founder is. I don't know their story. I just know I'm just buying this foundation. It's going to stay on all day. And it costs $54 and I have to suck it up and pay for it. But when we're actually doing a transaction with an actual like smaller business, I love that. Like sometimes we like overcomplicate it. And it's really about sharing like how did this come about and how can this really help somebody else. So I really love that. And in regards, since we're talking about customers, so on Shopify, what are some like what's a simple way to like enhance the experience for the user in our stores that you see
Yeah,
like
that's a great
most people
question.
don't do? Mhm.
So the first page that like people will see most likely will be either the product page because they clicked on like a Google search and they found your product. So I always say the product page is like one of the main pages that need to be like hitting the mark, and then your home page. Um, so the product page, the one way to make it like optimized, is showing a lot of imagery on like how to use the product, but also kind of like lifestyle in a way. And this kind of ties back into like photos, like imagery, and then also the product description. So putting in a little bit of like your own spin to it. So if if you talk to your customers in a way like they're Latina based, kind of speaking their language. And
Yeah.
then yeah, kind of using words that they would understand, and that they would be like, "Oh, this product is perfect for me because I'm, a Latina." Um and then also optimizing it for Google also, which I don't like to like go too far into like SEO, but
Yeah.
it is important.
It is very important. That's how you get found. Mhm.
Yeah. So having a balance between like speaking to your customer, and then making sure that people can search for it and find your product, um, is like one of the key elements on the product page. And then another thing would be like having a lot of reviews. If you have like screenshots of them, um, kind of uploading them to your product page so people can see like, oh, people have bought this, this is what they think about it. It kind of enforces that trust to get people to actually buy it. Um, and yeah, a lot of times people don't put a lot of reviews on their product page. Um, in a way that people can actually interact with them. I think screenshots are easier to read than like if you have the app. I don't know if you have heard of the app Judge Me. Like sometimes it has like the whole list.
Oh no.
Sometimes that's overwhelming.
Yeah, something like simplicity, like it's our best friend, and like I love how you say that, like a screenshot, boom, you got your review right there. And so once you do all this, like what are some like effective ways to really like market or promote your Shopify store? Like let's say for example, and I'm going to use this example in general to help everybody. So I am a service-based business. I have decided to launch my own thing. And I'm going to keep using this thing because I love it. It's not mine. So I have this amazing product. Okay. I'm ready to market it. It's all on brand. How can I start promoting it when people just know me as a service-based business, as a beauty service-based business? How can I start promoting it in a way that's not super salesy or like pushy? Can you give us some examples of that?
Yeah, so promoting it can look a lot of different ways. And like it has to do with how you feel more comfortable with like marketing the your product. But if you were like to promote it on social media, you could start doing like, content based off ways that you use the product. So do you take it to the gym? Do you take it to, like do you use it while you're working? Kind of doing the content, like showing you using the product. And then another thing would be like um talking about like your brand story again, like why is it, important to you, and how can your customer relate to the product?
Okay.
Um and then if you don't want to do social media, if you're really trying to grow your audience in a more like organic way or um, through Google, then blogging would be perfect to kind of, research to see what other competitors are doing and then put your own spin to it. Like write a story that relates to the product. Like a lot of times you might see blog posts that are like 5 ways to use this product and that can be helpful, but what if you wrote something like, I don't know, saying, this, the water bottle or whatever has been, transformed your life in, some type of way. Like it made me go to the gym and drink more water. I don't know. Something that's more interesting to read that people actually want to read.
Yeah, and I think it's so true. Like honestly, I love that you use that example because okay, so this is the Star Beast one. Okay, you know what I mean by Star Beast. So I got this during Christmas. It was on sale, and I started drinking water. And because I started drinking water, I've been going to the gym now for a month, and that's a true story. So this pretty cup got me to drinking water, which made me want to be healthier. So let's went back to the gym. So it's really like the story of this really pretty, like if you're watching the video on Spotify or on YouTube, you can see the rose gold water bottle literally drinking out of. And I'm willing to take the risk that they say that when you suck out of a straw, you get more lines, wrinkle lines around the sides of your smile, of your mouth. But I'm willing to take those wrinkles to drink, stay hydrated, and go to the gym and have a healthier lifestyle. So I think that's an awesome example right there that we literally just gave you. I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling water bottles or anything like that. But an awesome example of literally how that one little thing led to this transformation in my own personal life. So I love that example. And so we're going to address the big elephant in the room. So a lot of like my beauty pros are want to start an online Shopify store. Does it just have to be products, can like physical products? Can it be a digital product? And also, um, what advice would you give them if they are new to this? Because like that can be very overwhelming. This is one of the things why I have kept myself back from doing launching my own products because I'm like boxing, customer service, the whole thing. I'm just like, ooh, I don't know if I can do that as a business owner. So I would love for your advice on regards to other people that have those maybe limiting beliefs, we'll call them.
Yeah, it's always like, when you're starting something new, you will get those thoughts that are like, well, I don't know about this. Like, will it work? Will it be too much? Will it be overwhelming? And like when you're starting something, it will be overwhelming at first, but like if you're starting a Shopify store like brand new, you haven't had one before, the best thing would be to really look at the goals that you have for the product. So, how many products are you going to have? Is it just going to be like, a couple, maybe five? And if it is just going to be a couple of them, that's going to be easy to start with like the products and like the images, the product descriptions, and all of that. And then the second thing would be setting up the back end, the front end. And what I mean by the back end is like, what are you going to be looking at, like your inventory and your sales and all of that. So the easiest part would be to start with the back end. So putting in like how many products you're going to have, all the details into Shopify.
Okay.
That way you already have like the foundation down. You already have the setup done. And then you can dive into actually designing your store, which Shopify is really great about having like free themes. But if you want to use, like if you want to have a store that's actually going to be different and like custom, then
Mhm.
I would recommend getting a premium theme um, through out of the, I think it's called out of the sandbox or out of the box. I can't remember right now. But one of the best ones is like the Flex theme because you can like literally do anything with that theme.
Okay.
I don't know if you've used it.
I have not used it. I was cheap and I went for a $39 one. And yeah, so I tried for 3 years. I don't think Shopify and I get along. So I would love to know. how did you get into this? Because I did my own little research. I went through your content and your website. So how did you end up like actually doing this? And where does your passion come behind doing all this for Shopify and helping small businesses? Because I did also see some of the websites that you have set up, and it has like that really deep connection and meaning behind what they do. It's not just like selling a product or like there's so much more to their brand story, which I really loved, and I would love to share you with my audience. How did you get into all of this?
Yeah, I really whenever I'm asked this question, I always think about me as a child, like always wanting to draw, be creative and design. And it kind of like started off with that. And then I was in the finance industry for over like 5 years. But then I had my son, and I knew I didn't want to go back to my 9 to 5, and I knew that I wanted something different. And I even went to school for like business management. So
Mhm.
in the back of my mind, I always knew that I would start a business. I just didn't know like what kind of business or how that was going to work. Um, but becoming a mom kind of just threw me out in the wild, and I was like, now is the perfect time to like start the business. Like I don't know how I'm gonna make it work. So I kind of just started taking clients as like a freelancer VA um type of thing. And then I started noticing that I was getting more like clients for website maintenance, I can't talk website updates. And then I started with like WordPress. I really like noticed that I liked WordPress, but it wasn't really user friendly.
Mhm.
So then I started looking into Shopify because I started working with like e-commerce clients, and I fell in love with like just the platform itself because it's so easy to like navigate, to design and just do anything you want it to do for e-commerce. But yeah, I started in like 2021, and now we're in 2024. So yeah, it's been a little while.
Congratulations. I love that. And for example, for people like me that were like, okay, like I'm busy, I don't got times to do this. I want somebody to actually help me do this. I know that's a service that you provide. Like, I know like you can't give us a specific number, but like, is there like a certain amount of money we should be thinking about putting aside to do that? Because, like I am in the mindset, like I don't do, although I'm a solopreneur, right? I have a team, right? I have independent contractors that work for my bridal business. And I always have coaches and people that help me along. I don't do this all by myself. Okay. And if I don't know, I know it's going to take hours or years of learning to do so. But like, I'm just thinking as a business owner, like if we want to start our own Shopify store, could we also put digital products in there? And also, how much money should we be thinking to put aside if we want to hire somebody like amazing like you to really help us get this launched faster? And what are the benefits of that?
Yeah, so digital products are really easy to integrate into Shopify as well. And I like that you brought that up because a lot of times businesses can think that Shopify is only for product brands, like it's not for digital. And
I
it
thought
can
so.
be, it can even be used for other things like booking appointments with certain apps. So obviously, you do have to purchase the apps to integrate it to Shopify, but it can be used for that as well. And so for like digital, you have to kind of obviously have different policies and different processes to like upload it to Shopify. But it's basically like the checkout is pretty similar to what a product like a physical product would be. And the benefits of having Shopify is that one, you have like everything under one platform. So if you were to do like physical products, and then you have your digital products, you have all of that in one platform. You don't have to have like a separate website for the digital products.
Okay.
You can have it in the same website. And
Uh,
then the benefits also of having like an optimized Shopify store would be that one, you're not sending your customers to a website that doesn't really speak to them. It's not really user friendly. So you're not going to convert as many sales versus if you have one that's, you really take the time um, to look at all these things that we talked about and create a Shopify store that's with your clients in mind, with your customers in mind. And so I know you asked what the price point would be for like those type of services.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if I mentioned that I also do brand identities. So the price point for that would be like, I usually charge up to 2,000 for brand identities. And then for Shopify stores, I charge up to 5,000 depending on the pages and like all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to be like transparent about my pricing.
No, and I love that being transparent. Like I paid, well, it was 3 websites, but there weren't that many pages. But anyways, I'm not shading anybody. I'm being honest. And I paid like $12,000 for that. That was like 4 years ago. But since then, I have learned how to do so much SEO, so many things. I do my own websites now, like, updates and everything. And I just have learned conversion of them as well. So that's why I really wanted to be like open and real about like what it does take to hire somebody. But, at the same like time, like I had no clue. Like today we learned so much. I had no idea what I was doing when I was doing Shopify. So even with this information, it's like so super helpful. And I think it's so important. Like we always have somebody who is actually in it to guide us. And that's why I wanted to invite Diana because she is the professional. She's really passionate about what she does. And I can tell, and she's giving us so much knowledge. So what would be like your final piece of advice for somebody that really wants to do this, but is in a budget or is not really sure if they can keep up with the demand of having like the Shopify store? Because, we always see like everybody like, hey, get your own store, get your own store. But, we need clients, we need conversions like you're talking about. It's not just about sending a client to a website, is are they going to convert? Are they going to reach out? Are they going to purchase the product?
Right, yeah. And I always say like if you have DIY'd your website and you feel like it's working for you, maybe not as well as you want it to, then go back to the basics of figuring out who your target audience is. Go back to finding out your brand story and like your brand identity, like I was saying. Um, and try to like do it your own because you will know your brand more than like anyone else. Yes, there's like experts like me who can help you and like make it faster, get you there faster. But if you're just not at that point where you have the budget, which I totally understand, a lot of people are starting out, they don't have that budget. So you can like do research and see what, other brands are doing, how you can be different. Really taking time to do the research is going to help you to stand out. And then if you are in the second category and you're like, well, I'm making sales, but now I want to scale and I don't know what's going on with my store or where it's not hitting the mark,
Yeah.
then that's when I can come in and see what things are not going right,
I love
and optimize your Shopify store so that you're not having to do, the extra work when you're already getting the sales. You're just not getting as many as you want to see. But yeah, that's what I would say is look and see who you really want to serve, who your clients are. And that's where you need to start to revamp even like your overall brand and in your Shopify store.
I love that. I love how you tie it all together because sometimes we're like, it's separate. It's not. It's always cohesive. It's always together. One thing leads to the next. So we have to be very cohesive on that. And I so appreciate you coming on here. I love that you have your background in finance and design and business. And I know that you have been featured on other podcasts and, also Canvas Rebel magazine, if I could pronounce that right. And I'm just so excited that you took the time to come on here and gives us like a wealth of knowledge. Honestly, like I learned so much myself. I'm like, what? Maybe I want a Shopify store. I don't know. I don't know. But where can we find you? Where can we connect with you?
Yeah, so I usually hang out on Instagram. So you can find me there. My username is Simpsons_web design, and also on my website. So I am trying to do better at blogging. So you'll find some new blog posts. And I'm updating my website as well. So you're going to see a new website soon. But it's simpsonswebdesign.com, and you can find me there. Ask me any questions. But yeah, I'm really happy I got to chat with you today, Celeste.
I know, me too. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you and the time that you took to give all of us a wealth of knowledge. And I just can't wait to see your business continue to grow, and also like all the action that everybody's going to take on here today from this, like so many like amazing moments and information that you gave us. Like truly, this was amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.